Welcome everyone to another episode of Indie Hangout. I am Neumatix. You may know me over on YouTube or over on Twitch if you add an extra X at the end. This is episode 11, fellas. Mr. Maz and Kronos joining me tonight. How are you doing, guys?
What's going on, guys? Maz from Maztech Gaming. You can find me over on YouTube at Maztech Gaming or on Twitch at Maztech_gaming.
Hello, everyone. Kronos here. You can find me over on YouTube or Twitch at OSOKKronos.
Nice. All right, guys. We got a good one for our listeners tonight. It's going to be great, or I should say today. If you guys didn't know, we usually record at night, so just in case we ever mention that. But you guys are going to like it. We got a lot of good stuff going for you. But first, we want to make sure that you guys know, as we do every episode, that we have a Discord that we think you should join. If you want to join it, you'll get in on the polls, you get in on the mailbag, you could chat with us, you could chat with other listeners, and all that fun jazz. If you want to go ahead and get in on that, you can go to the About section, wherever you're listening to this podcast, and click on the link in there. And we'd love to have you in there. Today, we have a really good one for you guys. We're going to talk about indie games and ask the question, are more of them innovating or emulating? I think this would be a really hot topic for us to get into and for our listeners to listen in on and tell us what they think in the Discord as well. So before we get into that, though, we want to talk to you guys about what we've been gaming lately. So I think I want to start off with Mr. Maz, because you've been playing, I think, the most, if I'm not mistaken, between you and Kronos, a lot of new indie games.
I think Maz got me beat, so yeah, we'll let him go first.
It's been crazy. You know, we've really been working on. I did take a nice little creative break this past week, which is a really good thing, actually, because it gave me the opportunity to come up with some fresh ideas. I kept the streaming going. Been playing a lot of really cool new games, like the likes of Ruffy and the Riverside that just came out on Thursday, June 26th, a few weeks ago. It was a great game, great story. I've been playing the Quarantine Zone Last Check demo, Claude demo, which is a really cool game that came out. It's a really cool demo that released just recently on Unreal Engine 5, which is awesome. The RPG demo, which has been great. The RPG is a parody of Skyrim, so lots of fun with that one. One of my favorite games of all time is Skyrim, so for there to be a parody and a fun indie game that's inspired by that is awesome. Fellbound has been a great demo as well. That is a roguelite RPG looter, which is really, really incredible. Awida, The Journey of Hope, a game that just released at the end of June as well, which is more of a Metroidvania. Lots of things. And of course, Deliver at All Costs has been a good one. No Man's Sky, the Relic Abyss demo, Deadly Days, Road Trip. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's been an amazing month. Ending out June, July is shaping up to be no different. I'm really excited to continue with these indie games.
Insane, dude. Holy crap. You
Yeah,
put me to shame. Put me to
Man's
shame.
played more games than both of us put together.
Dude, you're not wrong, man. Holy crap. I mean, I've only played a few games, and, it's been, you know what, Kronos? I think we've had a rough, hot couple of weeks at work, and that's why we couldn't get into a lot. I'm just going to say that. That doesn't say much, though, because Maz has had a really long couple weeks as well, so, I mean, there's no excuse. There's no excuse.
My job, in y'all's defense, my job is in a nice, air-conditioned corporate office.
Wow.
He's rubbing it in now.
Wow. Must be nice in that AC. No, I'm kidding. I'll soon probably have AC in my work, but
You guys work in 90-degree shops with no air flowing? I got AC office.
Exactly. There we go. That's where the games happen.
Heck yeah, dude. I love it. But anyways, getting off subject, yeah, I've played a couple games. I'll be honest with you. I didn't get into too many indie games. I got into Under the Island. Now, I don't remember if I talked about that a couple weeks ago when the game demos were going off for Next Fest. That game was really good, like really surprisingly good. And the little puzzles that were within it weren't too complex, weren't crazy, and made sense for what it was. Like, you are almost kind of Pokemon style. The only kind of bad thing I would say about the game is that it wasn't maybe like the quality of it wasn't there or something was going on where you would walk around and sometimes the frames are a bit choppy. And I don't think it was my end. I think it was the game itself, although I could be wrong. And it didn't really matter because I did like the way the story was going. It was cute. Like I said, Pokemon stylist, like you go around this little place and you fall in through the island and then it like completely turns and you meet some weird bird dude, I think it was. And he's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's this chest and you need to save the island before, everything dies or whatever. And you open up the chest and there's a note and it's a funny thing because the note says, sorry, I took the sword, but I left this instead. And it's a hockey stick.
That was
It was,
fun to watch you play. Actually, I
dude.
saw you streaming that, and I thought the first thing that came to my mind was this was heavily inspired by Link to the Past.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. And that's absolutely what I was feeling when I was playing it. That old school style that just made sense to it, right? And I had a lot of fun with that. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the release of when that one comes out. Other than that, I played Forge of the Fae, and I didn't play that one. Did I play Forge of the Fae? Was that the one I got into? It was another RPG style, and that was like the bulk of the demos that I downloaded. And these are all like demos I'm talking about right now. Most of them were just RPG, and it's because I love RPGs and I like the story that goes along with them. And especially if they have fun mechanics that you could kind of remember having, similarities to old games you played. So, other than that, I've been playing Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. Now, that is not an indie game. It's a nice little AAA game, but I love it. I don't know. If another company or like indie dev can make a game like that, or if I can make a game like similar to that, it like hits all the marks. I'm just gonna go on my little thing here, my little rant of like the stuff I love. I love Asian inspired games. I love very beautiful, like cherry blossom, like style. I love games that have swords or any kind of style of martial arts in it. And I love a farming sim and I love anime style. So all those things combined is like in this game. And I'm just, oh, I love it. So good. But not all my time can be spent in that game. I need to be playing a bunch of other games. Otherwise, I'm going to miss out on the next one that's going to catch my eye like this one has. So, but in general, these are the top three that I've been gaming lately. What about you, Kronos?
Well, I know we said Maz played a lot, and then I got to thinking about it. And I was like, I've played quite a few, like kind of offline and stuff. So, but went heavy on Ruffy this month and beat that all the way through. I think I'm on my third playthrough now, trying to find all the collectibles, get a speed run layout going. Played a lot of rounds with Miles. That's become fun. Even that's a really old game, but it's just like some little bit of humor here because it's just a wacky little game. It's not a lot to it, but it ends up being a lot of fun because you get upgrades constantly. As each time somebody loses, they get a power up, and it's faster bullets or more bullets, or they get like a healing ability, and it's just you keep powering up, and then it's like you get so broken that it just you're just laughing the whole time. And then of course I know it's been a while since I mentioned this, but actually the new update for Repo came out, so I've been playing that quite a bit here lately, and it's actually different. They changed a lot in the game on just one update, and everything's free. It's wild that they're doing so many updates for this game, and it's like not charging nothing for like expansions or nothing. It's just you pay the base price, you get all this new stuff, and really enjoying that in an indie game.
Good on them, dude. Good on them for doing that. I saw you streaming Repo and I saw you streaming rounds. And it's funny that you mentioned rounds, dude. I happened to jump in, I think maybe near the end of it when you're playing with Miles. And Miles is just like cracking up because, like, dude, it's broken. You just broke it. And you're laughing. You're like, yeah, like, watch. And you just maybe hit a trigger or button or something. And all of a sudden, like, the screen is flashing. It's all lagging. Everything's going nuts. You're like, yeah, I think I broke it.
Yeah, we had it turned on to like I was doing like a sandbox mode where you can just keep getting ability upgrades, and I did like 10 ricochets, and then I did the bigger bullets, which makes your blast bigger each time it ricochets. So it was like they would turn into like they'd be like the size of a pen tip when you shoot them, and then by the time they finally exploded, it was like a softball on my screen. So it was just it was crashing almost. It was on the verge of crashing.
Heck yeah, dude. And then I did see Repo, saw some other updates. I also saw you were modding Repo. How did that go?
That went pretty good. Like I've never been a big mod person on games because I've always just like playing them as the base, how it was and how it's meant to be played. But it with Repo, the adding the infinite ammo in has made it a lot of fun for us because we can just go around just shooting everything. It's just so much. It's so many laughs. And then I tried the multiplayer mode the other night where you just find randoms online and actually met up with a party of people and we had quite a bit of fun with just people I've never talked to before.
You're braver than me. I don't know if I could do that. Ever since the Minecraft days, man, getting some randoms in with me, I'm always like, and then I get weird and I freeze up anyway. So that's just me, though.
What about you, Maz? Could you play with some randoms?
One thing I hate to keep bringing up, and because it's like rubbing salt in a wound and like cut myself open and rubbing more salt in the wound with my internet situation, it has really limited me from being able to do a lot of online multiplayer stuff. And that's actually the nice news is that's dangerously close to being fixed. I don't have a problem. I'm not against playing with randoms. Absolutely not. I think that could be a lot of fun. Nice thing is when you are streaming and you are playing with randoms, it's easy to eject them if they're trolling or they're playing like idiots.
Get out of here.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Eject. So there is a lot of that. That was a Grandma's Boy reference. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that movie. JP. Yeah. Eject. So it's one of those things where I would be doing more with my community online playing multiplayer once my internet situation has been rectified. So I mean, right now, no, I won't play with randoms, but that's because of my hardware situation. But that's being fixed, and then I will be open to that 100%.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those. Yeah, I'm open to it, but I'm still gonna be all like weird and nervous about it. No, it's just me. It's my problem. It's a
You
me
got to
problem.
go into it. You got to go into it being guarded. I mean, you're not wrong. I have no problem playing with randoms, but there's always that, hey, what could happen here? And they can do stupid things that can put your channel in jeopardy, So
yeah,
I
100%
experienced some of that the other night with the first lobby I joined.
No.
That's why I hosted my own lobby after that, joined randoms, and it was a lot of should not be said words getting said, and I'm like, yep, I'm out, and left. And I'm like, start my own lobby, which is nice that some games, especially indie games, are starting to add in that feature to where you can kick people and stuff because it gives you that freedom. Like, hey, this person's not being friendly. Time to go.
Maybe I should refine what I mean by random. Is that I'm creating my lobby, which is why I said I have the control, right? I'm creating my own lobby, and you have to be in my stream. Like, we need to be talking before you just come in and play a game with me because I don't need to know you, obviously, because then if I know you, then you're not random anymore. But it's a little bit more controlled. People are gonna be less likely to be saying stuff like you were just saying happened during your stream if they're already in your stream and conversing with other people as well. You kind of get a little bit of a better read that way ahead of time.
Yeah, and sometimes when you get randoms, you can find really cool people that turn into, people you constantly are asking to join in on the games. Like I know, for instance, for you, Kronos is Miles, and like for me was Cuddly Bear, even though that jerk hasn't been showing his face around here.
I remember Cuddly.
Yeah. Him, Cog, a couple of J-Jaws, like all on my community side. And that's a cool thing, man. You get to meet some really cool people that, actually enjoy games and aren't trolls. So, you get two sides of the sword here when it comes to that.
Yeah. We all have a few of them, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you Runesar, who from my community, was one of them. Bloom Kai from my community, Wheezy's World. Those are all people that I met right through my stream, and it just kind of turned into something way better than just randoms.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, super cool people.
Those gaming friendships, man, they're hard to beat.
100%.
I mean, you think about it, all three of us, we don't know each other in real life.
Oh, that's gonna change, Chrono.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, we're the same way, though. We all met each other through gaming. I mean, it's like streaming and stuff like that. And it's, friends that you can chit chat with and record podcast episodes with every week.
Get out some awesome games.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. Cool, guys. All right. Got through
Whoa, cool.
all the games that we've been gaming on. All right. Next up on the list, we're going to bring up something recent and something that will be later down the line. First up, the Switch 2. We talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago in a prior episode, and we were gauging on how it was going to be, if we're going to get one or not. Curious, guys, have any of you gotten the Switch 2?
Not yet. I want one, but I haven't gotten it yet.
I'm kind of watching the narrative unfold with it. Very, very popular. Probably one of the most successful console launches ever, but not something that I'm looking to add to my arsenal right now. I've got a Switch 1, the original Switch. I got it for my daughter. I probably use it more than all of the kids, but I haven't touched it much lately. So I don't really feel the itch for the Switch 2 yet.
Nice. I like that.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one.
An itch for the Switch.
Now, I'll say I'm waiting on like the next Pokemon release that's going to force me to buy it. I mean, at that point, I'm going to grab one.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you, Kronos. I'll be waiting for either the next Pokemon game that really grabs my interest or the next Legend of Zelda game. I'll be honest with you. I was at the store and they had some, and Bay, for Father's Day, she asked, she's like, "Do you want one?" And the whole thing, little new, that's his gift to you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, you know what? No, I don't really want one. And she's like, really? I'm like, nah. I'm like, if anything, it's funny. Like, the only reason I would have wanted one is just to say I have one. And that's kind of sad. So like, just because I have one. I mean, maybe
Yep.
maybe also because I would get in on the GameCube releases that are ported over to it. Not even for like the new games. And they are starting to come out with, they got that Donkey Kong Bonanzas coming out for it, or that's already out for it. And then, obviously Mario Kart, and you can play some of the old Switch 2 are backward compatible. Like you can if you already have Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, you can throw it into the Switch 2 and I think it just upgrades it on its own. I may be wrong, and you can play it
From
on
what I
there.
understand, it does.
Yeah, and so it's like better graphics and stuff. So yeah, that's cool and everything, but there's nothing there that's saying you need this, There's nothing saying that you need this over your Steam Deck. You need this over your original Switch yet. So I'm holding off. Same deal on my end.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think in a lot of cases with consoles, there has to be a specific need. When the console wars were heated, before PC kind of stepped in the last 5 years to say, hey guys, it's me. I'm the number one choice. Xbox and PlayStation specifically were always battling over exclusivity, right? Who gets what first? Alan Wake. I don't know if you guys ever played Alan Wake. One of the better horror games I've ever played. Extraordinary narrative. It was, and I was a PlayStation user. PlayStation all the way. It was an Xbox exclusive. I eventually got an Xbox so I could play Alan Wake and some of the games that came out for Xbox, like Halo and even Crackdown. These exclusives, I was like, oh, I got to have it. And same thing on the PlayStation side. They always had Final Fantasy, right? Not the Xbox.
Yeah.
And so it is one of those types of things where you just they create that desire to have it. And you have to buy a console back then to play the game you wanted to play in some cases. Now there's not so much about that. But one thing that always attracts me to the Switch is, and you had kind of just alluded to it here, Neumatix, is the Nintendo Switch Online. I can go on there and I can play regular Nintendo games. I can play Super Nintendo games. I can play Game Boy games. I can play N64 games. Now the Switch 2 is boasting GameCube games. And if those of you who have ever played GameCube, some of the coolest games came out on the GameCube. And it just kind of disappeared. Right.
I still play my GameCube, so I mean.
Exactly. Yes. 100%. And then when are the Wii games going to come out on that? I mean, it's just the possibilities are endless. When it comes to Nintendo, the first thing I think of is nostalgia. And all those games, and Nintendo's doing it right. All those games that I played when I was a kid are slowly becoming more and more available to me. And as they roll that out, it's been out since June 5th. It's been out for a cup of coffee. It's been out for a month and 5 days as of today, as of today's podcast. So what happens here is a year from now, because the average console age, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, what you say is 5 to 7 years. That's a pretty fair assessment, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
even shorter.
Sometimes
Most
even
of the time
shorter.
they're outdated by then.
So my point being is 2 to 3 years from now, the Switch 2 is going to be very, very much in play. So wait till I'm going to wait till that catalog really blows up and they start saying, "Hey, this game is coming out." Oh, I forgot about this because I'll tell you right now, one of my favorite games of all time on the N64 was Super Mario RPG. I don't know if you guys ever played that.
I don't think I have.
When
I think the only 64 Mario I played was World.
Really? I will tell you, Super Mario RPG is absolutely phenomenal. It is a classic, in my opinion. It came out for the N64. But when they announced they did a remaster for it and released it on the Switch, I bought it the day it came out. And I'm not like a take my money type of guy. I mean, you have to be Final Fantasy. You have to be Borderlands. You have to be a Mario game or a Zelda game to take my money. And they got me to do that immediately. And I can't tell you the last time I spent $60 on a game. I'm the one that holds out, but that was shut up and take my money right now. And that's going to be what brings me ultimately to the Switch 2.
Yeah. It's funny how like the three of us were all kind of like, obviously at some point we're going to probably want it. But even with that, like we haven't gotten it. The console, as you said, Maz, has done extraordinary. One of the best launch consoles of all time. Industry insiders and Nintendo reported record-breaking sales, surpassing approximately 3 million units sold on launch day alone.
That's ridiculous.
Like, holy crap. They aim to sell 15 million units by March 2026. And all of their statistics and analytics state that it's on track to do just that. So yeah, it's crazy. And it's funny that people were worried about price and everything. So like the Switch 2 is their third most expensive console of all time if you're comparing old prices from back all the way to the NES. And these are statistics brought up by IGN, looking up on their site. So the NES was the most expensive console of all time. In today's standards, in today's money, it would be equivalent to like $523. Next is the SNES, and then third is the Switch 2, compared to all other consoles. The cheapest console of all time that Nintendo ever released, today's money, would be the GameCube, which is funny enough because we're all like, man, it's a lot of people's favorite console of all time from Nintendo,
That was a great little console. It really was, the GameCube. That was one of, to Kronos' point, that's one of the shorter life cycles.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It's funny that you mentioned the NES. I remember my parents, I heard them talking about it when I was a kid, and it was like $230 for the game, which was for the console. It was $200. I'm sorry, and you had just mentioned it yourself there, but with the inflation from 1985 to 2025, which is 40 years, the inflation is 198.8% from then.
Yeah.
$597.52 for the regular NES in 1985, which was $200 back then. But that was the deluxe set that came with Rob, the NES Zapper, came with a game called Duck Hunt, which everybody's heard of. It's a classic.
Oh,
and
yeah.
another game that people might not have heard about called Gyromite. And Gyromite was actually a game that you played. It came with two controllers, but Rob, which is ROB, was a robot that came with the Nintendo that would play the game with you. It would open doors for you. It would know what to do. It was way ahead of its time. So $600, and people were like, shut up and take my money. If you guys recall, and we can talk about this probably in another episode, the game industry was in trouble. E.T. for the Atari had released. It was actually endorsed by Steven Spielberg. It did so bad. They even have videos about, thousands. I think it was like 7,000 copies of E.T. being buried in a landmine, in a landfill. I almost said landmine. It might as well have been a landmine in a landfill, right? And they had a whole documentary of digging them up because it was like rumored that it was in a landfill, but they actually found it and they dug some of them up. But that was kind of like the end of gaming as people knew it. That was kind of dying off. So Nintendo comes out and Nintendo just starts. They're a regular toy store in Japan. They come up with the Mario idea. They came up with Game and Watch games, which is the little, I don't know if you guys remember those, the little tiny digital background with no lighting. It was like a little tiny, like one, like there were a bunch of animations inside the screen, like predetermined animations. That was
Yeah.
called a Game and Watch console. Then they came out with the NES, and they came out with Mario, and they came out with Zelda, and they just completely revitalized the entire gaming industry. Without this NES, $600 today's dollars, $200 back then, that brought the gaming industry back to life. And look where
Yeah.
we are now. One of the strongest console launches in history 40 years later with the Switch 2.
Yeah, honestly, it's super. It's really huge. It's awesome to see that they're still killing it when it comes to releasing the consoles and being a big contender across all of them. But there is something. So a lot of listeners are probably like, "How does this pertain to indie games?" Well, we did make a little bit of a prediction on one of the prior episodes, stating that when it comes out, we thought that it would do really great for the more well-known AAA Nintendo games, but indies probably would not benefit from it right away. The console would probably have to be out for 6 months to a year before indies start getting their running stride in with the game, in with the console, I should say. And that has proven to be true with third-party game sales, and indies, particularly those using game key cards, have underperformed. There was a developer noting sales were below our lowest estimates. These first party titles like Mario Kart World are dominating with, with huge sales with that. And even with the bundle that are putting together, which is we had that episode with Yemi saying that it just made sense to get the bundle with Mario Kart because the game was, I think it equivalated to $50 for the game instead of 80 at that point.
Correct.
So it just, yeah, right now, first part, those AAA titles are dominating. Third party indie and indies are struggling, but I don't think that's for the long run. I think it's going to be similar to all these others, like the original Switch and the Steam Deck. I think that the indies are going to power through, and you'll see some really good sales coming through on those within the year. I think. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a new console. It's like, everybody's like Mario Kart World. Let's try out this brand new, the big title game because it's people love Mario Kart. Let's be honest. So you got to think the Switch
Yeah.
2. A lot of people are buying it for Mario Kart and all those big title new games that are coming out that are fan favorites. And honestly, like you said, they're going to struggle at first with indie games because everybody's going for the main stuff. But over time, they'll start, okay, hey, I'm kind of bored with Mario Kart. Let's start diving into what else is available for this thing. So, like an indie probably coming out around Christmas time could be pretty strong on the Switch 2 since it gave those other main titles time to kind of simmer down.
Yeah, and like we all stated, like what were our reasonings for going to buy the Switch 2? If one of these big AAA games came out for it, then we're gonna go and buy it up, right? And I think that's a benefit for a lot of entities in that scenario because let's say a big like for me, a new Legend of Zelda game comes out for the Switch 2. I'm gonna go buy it. Well, guess what? I'm gonna finish that game eventually, and then I'm gonna be looking on my Switch 2, like, oh, what other games can I play? Oh, I haven't downloaded Moonstone Island on this. I'm gonna go and download that. And so then you got all these other indies, like, yeah, they're kind of the second option, but they're still an option, and they're still gonna get sales. So they're still gonna benefit. And the indies that are coming out that are gonna be on these new consoles in general are gonna do better too because they're gonna have better graphics and all that. So I think it's a win-win later on, like we stated, like we predicted.
Yeah, I agree. At the same time, I think it definitely falls on par with what we had predicted. I still maintain that it's going to be both. And the thing is, you've got it's been since 2017. We haven't had a new console from Nintendo, so they're going to revisit all of these. We start out with Mario Kart. I mean, a 79% attach rate to in the US for Mario Kart World. It doesn't surprise me when those came out in bundles. I mean, it's not like wow, 79% of people bought Mario Kart with their Switch. 79% of people bought the Switch that happened to come with Mario Kart.
Right.
Right? So it's kind of like I feel like that's, I don't want to say skewed, but more of an inflated percentage.
Yeah.
But what happens July 17th? We got Donkey Kong Bonanza that is going to be, that's going to be releasing. So that's going to push the indie games a little bit further down the road with Switch 2. But we have a really cool platform, guys, for indie games. It's called Steam, right? It's Steam. And we've got a really cool console for indie games. It's called the Steam Deck. Now, it kind of seems like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I was saying, oh, the Steam Deck isn't going to hold a candle to the Switch 2 when it comes out, and it's not. How many consoles did we say the Steam Deck had sold since it came out?
For the Steam Deck, estimated 3.7 to 4 million units worldwide.
Since it released in 2023, correct?
2022. Steam Deck since it launched in February of 2022.
Okay, fair enough. Here's the scary thing about that. It's been a month, and at the time of this recording, it hasn't even been a full month. It's been 25 days from the time of this recording, 25 days since the Switch 2 has released, and it sold 3.5 million units. So that's scary.
Yeah.
But that kind of proves my point that, you know, the Steam Deck is not going to compete with the Switch 2. It's in a league of its own. But we're becoming so prolific with indie games and so persistent with indie games. There has to be a market for it. And then there are people like you guys and me and the people listening. And then you've got people like Yemi that's like, hey, dude, let's do it all together. Get the Switch 2, get the Steam, you get the Steam Deck, play all the games. And that's what I love about Yemi. He's extremely passionate, a lot like us and like our listeners. But the ones that are really just honed in on the indie games, they aren't going to see the need for a Switch 2, especially if they want to buy indie games, right? So it makes perfect sense that the AAA classics that are coming out with this new console for Nintendo are drowning out all comers when it comes to third-party gaming. It is all about Mario and Link and Donkey Kong and Princess Peach and Luigi and racing and Yoshi and all kinds, everything. It's all about those properties when it comes to Switch. Now, yes, the indie games will recover on Switch as things kind of cool off. But I think that's kind of like when we say, I think it's going to be both. Because indie games aren't going anywhere. If anywhere, they're going up. But with the Switch, right now, it's to what the three of us had said, it's all about AAA games right this second. It's all about the exclusive Nintendo properties coming out right this second. The franchise is on the rise right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that I think it gets me into wanting to talk about the next part of this, right? Up against the Nintendo Switch 2 is something that Xbox had talked about on their showcase, which a lot of the listeners have probably listened to. They've probably heard about it, is the Xbox ROG Ally. So ROG meaning Republic of Gamers. Their little handheld that's going to possibly come out this year, holiday, but it has no price details yet. And so when I heard about this, my first thought was, all right, it's probably not going to be that good. And you know the reason why? It's because I was like, there's no way that Steam is going to be on it. And then all of a sudden I heard Steam's going to be on it. And I was like, game changer.
That's I was just going to say that's going to be pretty big for Xbox in general because that also leads into some other juicy details about Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, dude, when I heard that, I was like, okay, the Xbox ROG Ally coming out, that puts Steam Deck to rest. It is RIP done for, okay? Because the ROG Ally is going to just dominate, I think, because it's going to have... So the Steam Deck has a Linux-based version on it, where the Xbox One is going to have Windows 11 on it. It's going to have Xbox Game Pass. It's going to have it's going to have Steam on it. It's going to have the ergonomic controller, everyone's favorite controller. Well, my favorite controller, but a lot of people will say their favorite controller is the Xbox controller. Well, it's like they just strap those bad boys on the side of a freaking console, on a handheld console, and there you go. It's amazing. It feels great. The design, it's a little bit, they don't have like complete specifics except that they tried to, it's like someone I think from IGN tried to align it with the dimensions from the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch 2. And it showed that it was slightly bigger than all three and that the back of it was a little slimmer than the Nintendo Switch 2. But I mean, in the end of the day, I don't really care what the hell the width and length and height of it is. I do kind of care about the screen. No, I care a lot about the screen, but all in all, the fact that it's going to have these two big things, the Xbox Game Pass and the Steam on it is huge, and Windows 11, because like, and you're gonna have these, I'm assuming, some pretty powerful chips inside and graphics inside to allow it to play the games that the Nintendo Switch are able to play right now, you know? And so it all tells me is like, wow, I'm going to actually be able to probably play modded Skyrim on my on this when I get I'll say it right now. When this thing comes out, I'm getting it 100%. This is one I'm actually really excited for. I'm really like day one, I'm going to try and get one.
Mm.
So what do you guys think?
I'm definitely gonna try and get one because I it was so back when the PlayStation, the PSP released. I swore to my friends, I was like, if Xbox ever released a handheld and gave Halo players the ability to play wherever they wanted to, it would sell like crazy. And this right here is going to finally possibly prove that players on Xbox can play wherever they want finally, and it's going to sell. I'm getting one day one if I can.
Nice.
Yes, same. I mean, what they're boasting here, you know, AMD Ryzen Z2A. I mean, it's a quad core, right? It's two, so it's an 8 RDNA and 2 GPU cores. So it's going to have 2 graphics cards.
Oh my god, dude.
16 gigabytes of 6400 RAM, and that's DDR. Couple things though. 512 gigabytes of SSD hard drive. Love the SSD, don't love the size.
No.
Hoping that they compress the files for this. And I think they may be able to because we're not stuffing it onto a 17-inch monitor or a 32-inch monitor or a 40-inch monitor. I have no idea. I would like to see more storage integrated with it, not just well, here's 512 and you can buy more. Let's go with the terabyte at the minimum, in my opinion. Display is going to be a 7-inch full HD 1080p. It's an LCD screen with 120 hertz. So, I mean, you can get 120 frames per second out of this on a 7-inch screen. But the problem is, I'd like to see this be an LED at the minimum. I'd love to see an OLED on release day as well. And that might be for the, I think they're going to come out with the ROG Ally X as well, right? Which is, I'm not sure if that's different than the Ally, so they might have that.
I was about to say it is going to be that has the terabyte hard drive on that one and a better screen and everything.
Okay, perfect. And so that's, and I had seen that they had the X, but I hadn't. I mean, I'll probably end up getting the X. I mean, this.
Oh yeah, same.
This is going to give you 2.5 to 8 hours of playtime. I mean, this is a resource sucker for sure. It's going to be resource heavy. Guessing the speculated they're speculating here that it could be between $799 and $899.
Yeah.
On release date. That's for the X. $499, $599 for the regular ROG Ally. But I believe that the X is gonna be where it's at for sure.
But yeah, dude. Yeah, and even like all the stuff you were naming off for like just the regular one is pretty damn good. Let's be honest.
Super powerful.
Yeah. I mean, and then they show, so here's some of the specs for the X. The processors is, of course, they're going AMD Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme. The memory is 24 gigabyte. The storage is 1 terabyte. Your display is a 7-inch FHD 1080 IPS 120 hertz refresh rate. So my monitor is 120 hertz refresh rate. Jeez. Oh my gosh.
This thing's bigger than my computer in terms of specs.
It's like, why build a computer? Just buy this thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's got a lot of cool stuff, additional features to it. You know, it's got a lot of good stuff going for it. I'm really excited. I think a lot of people are excited for it. I think Xbox just like blew people's minds when they showcased this thing. So
yeah, it's their next console in respect to a certain extent. I mean, this is going to run better than the Xbox Series S or X.
Dude, that's crazy.
And I don't think you're far off with you. You just kind of had like a comment there that said, it's like having a, you might as well, it's like having a computer. I mean, they're talking about adding a PC, a gaming PC in a couple years. That's going to be like their last console, so to speak. Everything's going Game Pass. Everything's going Game Pass. Everything's going handheld. One thing I would like to see, and I'm not sure if it's been confirmed or if I'm missing something when I read over the specs, does this connect to a TV like the Switch?
Yes, from what I've seen.
Okay, because I haven't gotten that far yet. It has a dock, or at least I know that it has USB 3.2 Type Cs, so USB-C. And that can carry into video, I believe. But I didn't see anywhere that it is going to connect to a television, because that puts that at a huge disadvantage versus the Switch 2.
Yeah, I think it'd be stupid for them to not allow that for sure. I think, and you're absolutely right, because if they didn't, dude, it would be just disaster. It'd be like, what? Why wouldn't they allow that? But
Right.
it does. So like the Steam Deck, me having the Steam Deck, I went ahead and I bought the dock for it as well, and it does. So like you can hook up. The dock has a little port in the back for the HDMI, and the HDMI goes into the back of the TV, and then the C drive or C port just plugs into the top of the Steam Deck, and it connects right away. So at least,
very cool.
yeah, so it seems like it would be a pretty easy thing for them to do. I hope.
Yeah, the current one has a ROG XG mobile GPU docking station that you can hook it into. And it says right here, it says can connect up to 3 monitors and hook up your mouse and keyboard to it also.
And you think about it, you could hook that up to your TV and you'd go on Windows 11, you got your TVs, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can turn it into your own personal computer that you can take wherever you want. Like it's a 100%. Laptop in a way.
And I just went ahead and dug a little bit deeper. It will connect to a TV through USB 4 Type C ports. Thunderbolt 4 capabilities. So yeah, it's going to be really, really good. Not only will it connect to your TV, but it'll be ultra responsive on your TV as well. So
my gosh,
this is crazy. This is a game changer for sure. No pun intended. The only thing I'm curious about is all Xbox runs off of Windows OS. I'm wondering if you can run a Windows 11 desktop from your ROG Ally. Like if I want to web browse or anything like that, or if it is like, I mean, you're saying Windows 11, does that give us the opportunity to browse as well while we're out? Or is this strictly running off of the Windows 11 operating system that just solely runs in the background?
I would assume the former there, where you can, because like the Steam Deck is, and this is just me, I'm just assuming, right? I would assume that they would do this because it would just be the smart move to do, is that like with Steam Deck, they have that Linux-based system. So you can be in Steam Deck's own software that's just like the game screen. Like if you open up Steam on your computer, that's all you see. You scroll through the games, click on it, play, cool, whatever. Or you can go into desktop mode and you click on that, and then it goes into, literally, it's a desktop as if you're staring at your monitor on your computer on the Steam Deck, and you can click a little.
That's incredible.
Yeah, you can click a little in your files, and you can go through your files. You can add pictures in there if you really wanted to, like just like a regular computer. So that's definitely what they're going to be doing. I'm for sure that's what they'll be doing with that Windows 11 on there.
Yep, web browsing capabilities is going to have Microsoft Edge as the default web browser. No, really?
Yeah, they got to push that.
And one thing that I was going to ask, but I see here, you can also install other browsers like Google Chrome, Firefox, Opera, or other from their respective websites. So Google Chrome can go on this too.
So that's insane, because see, that's the good thing. This is where obviously Nintendo and Xbox differ, or yeah, Microsoft differ with this, is that they're allowing these, kind of like third party to be on their systems. Like, yeah, we'll have Steam. Yeah, you can get a different browser. Like, you don't have to use just our stuff. We're gonna try and shove it down your throat to use just our stuff, but you don't have to. Where Nintendo's like, no, these are our games. You can't have them. And we're not gonna, except for playing other games from other, from over on Steam and stuff like that. You can play that on the Nintendo Switch too. But I said Nintendo Switch. I didn't say Steam Deck, did I? I think I said Nintendo Switch too. Okay, but yeah. So I think that's the big difference, is that Microsoft is being very lenient with the things you can do with this. It seems right now. Obviously, right, off of everything we're reading and all the specs and all this stuff, it's not out yet. So, but I think it's gonna be huge, and I think it's gonna be huge for indies, big time, because just alone having Steam on there, you're gonna be able to play. I'm sure if these indies, if you ever go on Steam and you say Steam Deck compatible, well, Steam Deck is just like it's going to be just like this ROG Ally. So the controls, I'm sure, aren't going to differ too much, and it's not going to be too hard for indie devs to port it over to the ROG Ally.
This kind of leads me to believe something's going on, something big in the background.
Yeah, you got the feels too, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, right off the top of my head, Microsoft is a $3.7 trillion company. And the valuation for Steam, Valve, is $10 billion. I mean, it's nothing to buy up. Nothing to buy up Steam, right? So it's funny because right now, Xbox has about 400 to 500 games in its Game Pass. Steam has over 100,000 games that it hosts. I mean, that's so stupid.
Oh my god.
100,000 games on Steam. So I don't know how this works. I don't know how the business aspect works, but does it kind of seem like we're creating this handheld ROG Ally at the same time that we're allowing Steam to be on Xbox? What's to stop Xbox from trying to acquire Steam and integrating that library of 100,000 games into Game Pass?
Well, that was leading me into what I said earlier about some very spicy news that Xbox had released.
Hit me, brother.
They are working on a next-gen console that will come day one with Steam on it, is what they said.
Come on, right there.
Meaning the console itself will have the Steam library on it day one release.
Dude, that's a telltale right there if I ever heard it.
So that kind of is like the gaming PC thing I was talking about, supposed to release in a couple of years. I think that's what you're talking about, right, Kronos?
Well, they said it's a console. They said it's not really a PC. Is what they said during the showcase thing. But I don't, it's at that point, is it almost like a PC? I mean, the Series X has got such, very good hardware in it that it was almost considered a PC at the time.
Correct. Right. So that makes me wonder. There's something going on that they don't want us to know about, but kind of want us to know about, I feel.
Yeah,
something is going on here. Yes.
You know what it is? I think Xbox is like, everybody quit talking about it, but the console wars ain't over.
Right.
They're trying to be a powerhouse with the consoles again. You know that's in the back of their head. Like, we want to be number one.
Oh, yeah. They're getting smoked. They had the market share just 2 years ago. They really did. They were beating the pants off of PlayStation. PlayStation just kind of hauled off and punched them in the mouth. And they've kind of hurt themselves with Game Pass to a certain extent. But now it sounds like they're kind of using it as pretty good leverage for their next consoles. I mean, the ROG Ally, to be able to take those games on the road. To your point, Kronos, to be able to play Halo wherever you want. I mean, you've never had that opportunity before. It's an Xbox exclusive. They don't have any handheld options until the end of this year. So there's a lot of really cool stuff coming up. I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be huge. No one could say that Xbox doesn't have any games. They'd be like, we have all the games, by the way.
I mean, you could trace this back to when they purchased ZeniMax and when they purchased Activision and Blizzard. I mean, this has been going on for a while. They've been going Walt Disney on this stuff. They've been buying up the land, So I think something really they have not announced the big thing yet. That's for sure. I think
it's something coming.
The ROG Ally, and even teasing, to your point there, Kronos, their new console. This is the appetizer. And the nice thing about all this stuff is that who is really going to win this? The gamer's going to win this, because there's going to be a lot of cool options for the gamers. It's going to be a little expensive, but as long as the quality's there, let's go.
Yeah, 100%.
Just real quick, something is leading me to think that it's going to happen next year. Because during the showcase, Xbox kept hinting that next year is 5 years of Xbox and some of the biggest news ever is coming. And like, because they said, return of a fan favorite has been with us since day one, which is a Unreal Engine 5 remake of Halo Combat Evolved. That's been leaked a lot. Like new Gears of War, but they all said optimized for the next generation, which almost has to be a new console.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's going on.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
excited to see what happens next. I really am.
Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon and a lot of exciting stuff for the future of indie games, indie devs, indie gamers all around, for sure, with these coming down the pipeline. But we'd love to hear what our listeners would have to say on these subjects. What do you guys think? Do you think something's in the works? Are you excited for the ROG Ally? Did you get a Switch 2 and you're content with that? Let us know in our Discord or over on X at indie_hangout. But for now, we are going to go ahead and go to a quick ad break. And when we get back, we're going to get into the bulk of the show right after this. Hey, Indie Hangout Crew, loving the show? Help us spread the word by dropping a quick 5-star rating or review wherever you might be listening to this podcast. It takes just a second and helps more than you know. Thanks for being awesome. Now, back to the show. All right, everyone, and welcome back to the Indie Hangout, episode 11. Cool, so we got through the beginning of the episode. A lot of fun stuff, but we also want to talk about something digging down into indie gaming in general, which is, are these indie games emulations or are they actually being innovative? And I think you can grab a lot from either side on this, and you could probably make a good argument for either side on many games with this. So developers in general often face this choice. Do they revisit the past and emulate classic retro games with some modern polish to it in order to bring people to their game? Because if anything, we've talked about a lot in the beginning of this podcast is that we tend to go for games that give us that nostalgic feel. What a lot of people, I think, do that. A lot of people go to games that give them that draw that nostalgia out of them. Like, we we're just talking about the GameCube and how great of a console that was and the cool games we played on that. And in general, a lot of games that, like, for instance, I'm going to bring it up. I haven't brought it up in a while. Kronos decided to bring up Repo. I'm going to bring up Stardew Valley. So that one is a tried and true emulation with a modern polish to it. Based off, and this is coming straight from the dev's mouth, Concerned Ape. He said he loved all the Harvest Moon games. He thought they were great, but he wanted to make one that had all the greatness that he loved from those games, but add even more to it. All the stuff that he felt was missing. So when you play Stardew Valley, that's exactly what you get, and that's why it did so well. And you got many other games that are doing this today. So when you guys are going for these indie games, is it more than likely that you're just going to be pointing out a lot of stuff that draws the nostalgia out for you? Like we just played Ruffy in the Riverside, right? And we had the dev himself on for an episode, which was amazing. And there were so many games that you can compare that game to that people may go to it because of the nostalgia, like Paper Mario and stuff like that. Do you guys feel that that kind of is another factor in why the game could do so well, is because of those classic retro vibes that it gives off from a bit of emulating those older games?
I mean, I like the fact that you brought that up right off the bat, because really how this is, we talk about Stardew Valley and Repo a lot because those are the games we've been playing most recently, right? I've been mentioning for a while, I was mentioning No Man's Sky. We've been talking about Ruffy in the Riverside a ton, but it's very relevant to what we're talking about right now. Yeah, when we talked with Patrick over at Socrates Labs about Ruffy in the Riverside, one of the first things we mentioned was a nod to old N64 platformers like Crash Bandicoot, Paper Mario, Mario 64. And he said, no, it's not. It's its own game, but it was inspired by those. And there were some things in there that had the nod to those types of games. But it's much more innovative than Mario games. The mechanics that they added, the swap mechanic, sets that game apart from itself. So I think that Ruffy in the Riverside, as you brought that up, is actually a cross between emulation and innovation, right? It took something that was tried and true, a classic type platformer, and built on top of it. And I think that was a really good mix of the two.
And I feel that, like, more people should do that if they want to do emulation stuff in a way. Like, yes, make it feel like an older game, but show us something new, like that'll draw us in as gamers more than anything. Like with Ruffy, like it looks like Paper Mario. I personally never played Paper Mario, but it always looked like fun. Mario always looked like fun to me, but I never just got into it. And it's like it had that old school Nintendo 64 style and stuff look, and I was like, okay, I want to play it. And then, I got into it, and it was like innovative because all the new stuff that they added in and new things they tried. And yeah, like I said, I'm on my third playthrough right now.
Here's another thought to build on top of that. We talk about this a lot too. Let's talk AAA, AA games for a second. What are they always doing? They're doing the first person shooter. We've talked about this ad nauseum in our episodes. They do the first person shooter. They stick with what they know works. They emulate and try to duplicate themselves. It's the indie gamers that are the indie developers that are the outliers at this point. To what Kronos just said, we need something that kind of draws us in. And I think that we are relying more on innovation from indie developers than we are from these big double and AAA studios right now. I mean, granted, they're always going to try to outdo themselves. We talk a lot about Skyrim, or the Elder Scrolls. Skyrim being such the big hit that it was, but it came out in 2011. We're looking for something new. There's a lot of pressure on these developers at Bethesda to outdo Skyrim with this next Elder Scrolls. So they're going to be doing some innovation inside of their emulation. But I think for the most part, tying it back into indie games, indie gamers are using a lot of retro emulation, or they're using a lot of the older games as their inspiration and emulating that and then building layers on top.
Yeah, I love that. And you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people will have no issues with games that are coming out that emulate some of these old retro games, but they make them their own with these stylized twists of modern graphics, smoother controls, these quality of life features that are put into the games that make them their own. And especially when they even put in some little mechanics that obviously weren't in these old retro games. It's like the cherry on top kind of deal. So it's like a great mix of both. Nostalgia resonates with players. It offers comfort and familiarity while introducing retro styles to new audiences. And if done right, it's going to do good, as we've seen with plenty of other games. And as you said, even with AAA and AA games, we always poke fun that they are, the next Call of Duty, Call of Duty 53, they're doing exactly what they know is going to make money. And you have some AA and AAA games that are copying the indie games, knowing that this did well, so we can do it and do well with it as well, And I think when it comes down to it, the only things that you need to watch out for, or these indie devs need to watch out for, is the risk of being seen as lacking originality and being too flashy or being a copycat. You've got games, so like I brought up Stardew Valley, and there's other ones that are like it, like Sunhaven, Fields of Mystria, which Fields of Mystria is not released fully yet, but it's still so good with the way it sits right now. But then you got games, so those games are okay. And even some people, when those games are coming out, if they weren't that good, people would probably be like, oh, it's a Stardew copycat. And people are still going to be like, oh, it's just like Stardew, and almost kind of shun it. But the problem persists when you get into games that are almost blatantly doing it. So there was a game that was called Island or something like that. I can't remember if it's Sugardew Valley or Sugardew Island, but it sounds very similar to Stardew Valley. And a lot of people saw through it right away just because the name was similar, and then it had similar mechanics, it had a similar look, and then the game ultimately failed because of it. Like, it was too close to it. It was trying to emulate. Funny enough, it's trying to emulate a game that emulated an old game. And failed on it. But I think it's because you can see through it. You can see that whoever was creating that game, I would assume it was almost a money grab. Like, they were like, oh, blatant. Well, yeah, a very blatant money grab. Yeah. So
it is Sugardew Island, by the way.
Okay.
And you know what they say, right? There's an old saying: emulated but never duplicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very true.
So with that, I think as long as the games are coming out and they're having their own kind of twist on it, and they're not trying to blatantly copycat a game that's emulated or done well, you even got these a 3D style Stardew like, which is Coral Island. I played that game. That game was a lot of fun. but it's its own twist. It's literally you are on an island and you farm just like in Stardew, but it's 3D. You have love matches and stuff, but then you got the merfolk and it's got its own twist with that. There's so much more to it than just I'm a Stardew Valley copy, just because the game did well. So I think if they do that, people are more forgiving. Otherwise, trust me, that if you go and see a game that's trying to copy flat out and put it out on X, people will put you out on X or put you out on social media in general. They'll be like, yeah, don't even bother with it. Or they'll actually, it's even gone to a point where if these indie devs or quote unquote indie devs that are trying to full out copy other ones, the people, the gamers will reach out to the original dev and be like, hey, did you see that this other dev is like flat out copying you? Like flat out copying your game and kind of either one trying to cause a stir or trying to be like, hey, maybe you should figure like stop this if you can, like legal action or something like that, which almost never comes to that point. Usually, like if it was that bad, the dev that's trying to copy will just like shut it down. Or there was a time, I can't remember the game, but I remember hearing about a game that was being called out like that, and they completely stopped production 100%. And it was like 3 years later, they came out with brand new trailers and brand new art and tried to like recreate it. Like, oh no, this is the direction we were always trying to go. But of course, gamers, they don't forget. So they blasted them on that. Like, no, we still got old screenshots.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean the gamer community coming together to see through that things, people are being held accountable.
Absolutely.
But so getting into it, we've talked about some of these games that are emulating. What about some games that are breaking the mold? We got games like Hollow Knight, which is very, very popular. It's a rooted Metrovania, but it's got a haunting art style. And I've talked about this game a little bit with you guys, where like I was just praising up and down the art style because of the pixel art and how it was done with sprite sheets through and through. And it's just amazing. Like the look of it is so good. And it's so weird to say that because the color is very like black and white. But it's got a very intricate world building aspect to it. The combat is challenging, gives it a fresh take. But even this game can kind of be considered one that emulates old games. And you can't for me, I can't really put my finger on it. I can't like pinpoint a game it exactly does because maybe it's one that just it pulled from a lot of different ones and it was like, yeah, we're going to throw this together and this list looks good. This feels good. And you also got games like Outer Wilds. I just played that one not too long ago. And that 100% is its own game. I don't think I've played a game like Outer Wilds before. And it is one of kind with this. It's got this time looping mechanic and it drove me nuts because I didn't know what was going on in the beginning. I'm like, what is going on? Why did I start in the beginning? Like, did I do something wrong? And then I realized, oh no, it's meant to be this way. So, and many and other games probably do have these time loop mechanics, but this one did it in such a way that it was its own thing. Can you guys think of any that are like pretty prime examples of this, like breaking out of the mold compared to instead of emulating?
Yeah, I mean, one I could think of would be like Inscription because it's your normal card based gameplay type stuff, but they added in like new mechanics, like a horror mechanic and like upgrades, and it's also you have like almost like an RPG in a way. You're trying to discover like what happened to the people that were originally there and like how you ended up where you're at. So they took a normal, like area that everybody loved, which is for some reason everybody loves card games. But they added like how can we improve on this and make it so much different that people keep playing it and it just turned out to really work.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, when it comes to card games, for me, I immediately go, ugh, card games. Like I don't know why. It's just the way I am. And, like card games immediately triggers in my brain boring. But when you get something like this that was made to be very innovative and plays on the horror aspect and everything like that, it's like a whole new unique feel. And it's like, oh wait, okay, no, okay, this ain't boring. This is good. This is good stuff. Very innovative. It made it something of its own. It's its own space. And that's why it's successful.
Yeah, like I mean, like I agree with you on the card game thing. It's kind of boring in a way. And I mean, another prime example of a card game that, changed it up and made it really fun is Liar's Bar. It's based around cards and normal card games that people play, but they added in like the Russian roulette aspect of it and stuff. So it actually made it fun, and it's innovative because it's something that you don't normally see.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. What about you, Maz?
It's funny. One of the things I think about when it comes to emulation is games like Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto 5, guys. Best-selling game of all time, I believe, in terms of like gross numbers. And one of my favorite things to do in Grand Theft Auto is to cause problems that get the police to come after me. Just to see how far you can push it. Because you can really piss these guys off. It starts with a cruiser. Then there's a helicopter. Then there's a SWAT vehicle. Then there are friggin' tanks coming after you. You get the whole army that's coming after you. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy. But you never really get to play that other side unless you're into the role-playing portion of, the role-playing community that is in Grand Theft Auto 5, like in GTA Online, right? They came out with a game, and we've talked about it a couple of times over the episodes here, back in May. And it was The Precinct. Definitely an emulation of Grand Theft Auto. But it's from the police side. And truth be told, you can be just as bad as a criminal in GTA as you can be as a cop in The Precinct. But I thought that was a really great way to introduce kind of like the other side. You're in Averno City, which is not Vice City. It's not like San Andreas or anything like that. But it is its own city, and it's pretty corrupt. So there's corrupt police officers, there's all kinds of criminals. But the cool thing is, not only did they emulated, obviously the idea I'm pretty sure was inspired by Grand Theft Auto. Just kind of like, hey, what would happen if you were the cops in Grand Theft Auto? But it also adds fresh mechanics, the ability to pull people over, doing breathalyzer tests, searches, search and seizure, writing tickets, ticketing illegally parked cars. Lots of fresh mechanics for an already tried and true type genre. I thought that The Precinct kind of stands out when we talk about these emulation and innovation type deals.
Yeah, I thought so too. When I saw you playing that game, I was like, wow. It's literally very much like Grand Theft Auto, except they turn the tables. You're not the bad guys. You are the cops. So very cool. I would
But the thing is, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, but the thing is, they really brought, again, the fresh gaming mechanics to it. So you can drive the cruiser. You can fly a patrol helicopter. There's a lot of different things that you can do with it. And the nice thing is it brings fresh mechanics and accessibility to a tried and true game as well. So I really feel like they hit the nail on the head with it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. That's one game I actually, when I saw you playing it, it's one game I was like, wow, I kind of want to buy this and I kind of want to play it because, I did like Grand Theft Auto. Probably not as much as some people. Some people are like crazy about that game. But
yeah.
Yeah, the Precinct, I could see myself getting into something like that. Absolutely. I think, I want to ask our listeners, what's a game that you would like to see brought back to life? Not a remake, right? Because sometimes you can have these AAA companies and they make a remake and people are like so excited for it because of the nostalgia. Like, yeah, I can't wait till they come bring this out. It's gonna be amazing. And then it comes out and they're like, what? It's not as good as I remember because like they kept everything the same. It's because it's just a plain and simple remake. But what's a game an old retro game that you would love to see redone, indie dev style with its own modern polish and twist on it? I would love to know. Leave us your answers in the Discord. Because I'm really curious. I mean, mine's already been done. Stardew Valley's great, man.
Dude, I'm glad you brought that up. I gotta say something, man. I gotta say something because that's a really enticing question. And my game that I would have picked, no joke, is already done as well. And I bet you that most people have never heard of it before. It is
really?
A game that came out in 1986 for the Sega Master System.
Holy crap.
And it was called Alex Kidd and in Miracle World. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before.
Never.
Came out
Cannot say I've heard of it.
1986. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. It's one of the games, along with Super Mario Brothers, the original one, and especially Super Mario Brothers 2. that got me really head over heels into games. It is a platformer, but instead of it just being a side-scrolling platformer, it goes left to right, right to left, up and down. It goes everywhere. You can buy motorcycles to speed through levels. You play rock, paper, scissors with enemies to beat them. It is an incredible game. And back in, let's see, was it? Back on June 22nd, 2021, they released it. Developers Merge Games and Janken Team came together and redid Alex Kidd. So not only is it a AAA game for the Sega Master System that was released by Sega, it was redone by indie developers, which is really, really cool.
No way, dude. Hell yeah.
And one of the coolest parts is there is a button on the controller in this game that you can change it from modern day graphics to the old school 1986 version.
Oh,
You can just jump.
man.
You can jump back and forth as often as you want, but I will tell you that was one of my favorite games growing up. It was a game that I wanted to play for years. When I started getting that, I was starting to pine for that nostalgia to the point where I actually went on eBay, bought a Master System, bought Alex Kidd in Miracle World, and played it until I got tired of it and sold everything again. And then this came out about 10 years later. And now I have it on my computer. I can play it whenever I want.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, on that, I'll just say on that, like, switching back and forth to graphics thing, it just made me think of like the newer, like Halo 1 and 2 anniversaries where you can literally play as the new revamped graphics, but then as soon as you hit the center button, it goes right back to the original Xbox graphics.
Yes.
Like, that is such innovation in gaming, like, to me, like, because that's like, okay, hey, how did this look back when I used to play it? Oh my God, it's so different, like it's crazy what just a little bit of graphics can do.
Absolutely. And there's also if you guys want to try it out, I put the link. I put the link in our Discord here, our chat. But the demo's available too. So if you want to try it out, it's really good. But it's classic.
So, unlike you two guys, y'all's already been made. A game I would really like to see get redone is Legend of the Dragoon for the original PlayStation. It came out in 1999. It was a back then the normal like turn-based strategy type game, but me being a dragon fanatic that I am, it incorporated like what if humans gained the power of a dragon, and the game had such a deep story mode to it too. Then, but it was so held back by its time, and I'm like, if they could just redo it on like a modern game engine, add some new stuff in maybe, but give it those brand new graphics, like that would be one of the best games ever in my personal. I don't know if you guys played that game or not.
Did I love that? My brother played that game. Like, I was the Final Fantasy fanatic, and my brother, he was like, oh, the game's stupid, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, I think it was more of like, the brotherly love, or like, oh, I hate what you play and you hate what I play and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, and because I played Final Fantasy, he had to find one that was similar, but not, and it was Legend of Dragoon. He still talks about that game. It's like, yeah, he's like, I've been thinking about just like getting, an old PS1 and getting that game and playing it again. I'm like, go for it, dude.
So I still have my original copy from the PlayStation 1, and I've played it quite a few times in the last couple years, just to go back and enjoy the game again. And then when I heard that PlayStation, it was whatever their version of like Game Pass kind of is, actually has it on there now, and you can play it on any PS5, PS4.
No way. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, you don't even have to have the copy of the game. You can just go back and play it. But it's still the original PlayStation graphics. It's nothing. I think it's been like a little updated so it runs a little better on the newer console, but it's still the original game.
That is awesome. That is really cool. Yeah, that's a really good one, man. Cool. All right, guys. Well, then, as I said, I would love to hear what our listeners have to say as well. Let us know in the Discord. And by the way, over in the Discord, let's go over our question of the pod and our poll, guys. So we asked over in our Discord a question of the pod. Are you drawn to a polished retro revival or more of a genre defying experimental game? And so when we asked that over there, we had our good old buddy, old pal Yemi popped up and he said, I'm drawn to both. there are some really cool retro revivals coming out, like Ninja Gaiden, Ragebound. Oh my god, I love Ninja Gaiden. While also being drawn to genre-defying games like Balatro. Dude, I hear Balatro all the time. I hear so much good about Balatro.
Another card game.
Yeah, another one that like I said, card game, but obviously it's not, it's really good. So I should probably give it a chance. But yeah, you know, I think we've all kind of answered this a little bit along the way of, are we drawn to one or the other? I think, though, to just set the record straight, I think I am actually more drawn to the nostalgia myself, those retro revivals in my case. I'm okay with genre defying experimental indie games, and I'll probably be the one on the last person in the bandwagon to jump on because I'll be too busy with my polished up retro revivals. That's me personally. And nothing against any good genre defying ones like Balatro. It's just what I'm drawn to, you know? So what about you guys? Kronos?
Oh, I was gonna let Maz go since I kind of just went.
Yeah, a lot of these types of questions, they really kind of revolve around mood, right? I'm kind of with Yemi in a lot of cases with this, is that you're trying to both. It's nice to have those retro revivals. Like, I'll use the Alex Kidd example again. That was obviously pixel art back in the day, back in 1986, when it was an 8-bit system. That's all that we had. But then they come out and it's reanimated. It's really drawn well. It looks hand drawn. And then there's that way to toggle back and forth. And then on top of that, there are genre defying experiments, right? And we think of things like Pacific Drive, which is that it kind of goes back to our episode where we were talking about genre fusion of survival and driving. That defies genres. It goes outside, it breaks through what you would expect in a specific type of game. Or different types of accessibility and mechanics. We're talking about it a lot lately, but it's a brand new game, Ruffy and the Riverside. It brings in the swap mechanic, which allows you to change textures to solve puzzles and to create ways to escape things or alter your environment to make it so it's passable. These are the types of things that work really, really well. And it's hard for me to say, am I drawn to one or the other? It's really both. And sometimes it's a mood thing, right? It's like, okay, retro, something that you know about. It's something that's nostalgic and something that you know that you enjoy. And then on the other hand, maybe I want something that kind of just pushes the limits of what I'm used to. So I got to also agree with Yemi and say that I'm drawn to both.
Dude, I think you're 100% on that. Like, I do say retro revivals, but honestly, like you said, it's your mood that day. Like, you feel a little, a little spicy that day. You want to jump into something new, you
Yep.
know? Maybe you will. Maybe you will jump into something more like Ruffy. Feeling a little bit more to yourself. You just, I just want to play something comfortable that I'm used to. Then you go to that retro revival. For sure, dude.
I'd say for me, it's more so of, like, it's how the game itself is, like, in general. Because, like, I'm gonna use the example of what I know personally is like Halo. Hate to say it, it's not indie, but it's what I'm used to. Like Halo Infinite is, they tried new stuff. They changed up everything, and like I was excited to play it. Like I played it a lot, but to hear that they're making a pretty much retro revival of Halo Combat Evolved in Unreal Engine 5 that's supposed to be releasing next year, and like the little bit of clip I seen from like the end level footage, I'm more excited to play that game than I am a newer title for the series right now. And I think it's more so just based off of how much nostalgia came from that game, and now it's being revived, that it's like you get that feeling back from when you used to play it.
But yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, I'm going to be jumping on that game too. I'm excited for that game. I love Halo.
But yeah, like I said, I don't really know of an indie game that's redone an older game that I like and stuff like that. So I was just using something I know.
Oh, yeah,
But
for sure.
but to me, like it's Halo Infinite, like even like the community itself is more hyped, like more drawn towards a revival of a classic game than they are of the newer, genre defying, as we were saying.
Right.
That's changing everything up. And I think it's all kind of like how Yemi said, it's both. Like I'm drawn to that newer stuff, but at the same time I really love the retro revival. Like bring back the old school stuff, but just make it look new. Like that would be, I would play more hours in those games than something that's trying something completely new. Hate to say it that way.
Hey, we all like what we like, man. And that makes sense, you know? I'm not too far off that myself, so
I'm a firm believer of like, don't fix what ain't broken. You
yeah.
know, it's like, I know we've talked a lot about how like a lot of these companies, they rinse and repeat stuff. And it's like, you want to keep it almost that way. Cause at the same time, it's like, that people are going to be like, okay, yes, this is a new game, but like, there's nothing like the older games. Like this game feels like I'm playing with a mouse and keyboard versus a controller. It's like, what did y'all do? Like it's like, you got to find that balance to me.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. Good stuff. Well, on to the polls. All right. So this poll was a pretty good one because we had some comments from our listeners over in the Discord as well. So the poll went, which handheld console fits you the best? Your options were the Switch or the Switch 2, Steam Deck, the Xbox ROG Ally, which is obviously coming out then, supposed to come out at the end of the year for holiday, or other, and a comment below. And for the first time ever, we have a tie. Tie game! We have 40% vote over to Switch 2, and a 40% vote over to the Xbox ROG Ally. And we have a we had a vote over on the underscore Hangout X account for Steam Deck. So a little bit of everything for this poll, which is good. And we obviously, like I said, had some comments. So Yummy said, my Steam Deck has pretty much been dormant since I got it. I don't regret the purchase, but I don't use it as much as the Switch. Fair enough. And we also got H Money, Miss Call Me Nanes. She said, I still have several Game Boys and Nintendo DSs that I love. I have a Switch 2, but I hardly use it. And Switch 2 as in she has the original Switch, not Switch 2. A little bit hard there, wordplay. So she says she barely
Switch
uses
also.
it. Yeah, Switch also. There we go. The Steam Deck looks cool, she says. If I could play Destiny 2 on it.
Good
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Nanes with her Destiny 2.
Oh, yes.
Good news for her, the Xbox Ally. I mean,
come on now.
it's gonna be Destiny 2 right there in your hands. I mean, that's gonna be another big one,
Yeah. You're gonna have to talk her into it, like, hey, you know what? Just ignore that. Just jump on the bandwagon here, all right? Xbox ROG Ally. That's your friend. Yeah. All right. Cool. What did you vote for?
Voted for. I know this sounds weird, but the Switch 2. I know.
After all that hype about the ROG Ally,
I'm excited about the Xbox ROG Ally, but I think the Switch 2 fits me more because, like, when I think of mobile gaming right now, like, playing on the go, it's always my Pokemon games.
I went with the Steam Deck, believe it or not. And the reason being is one simple thing. I'm really looking forward to the ROG Ally. I'm not looking forward to the price point of the ROG Ally.
Yeah, I get it. I went for the ROG Ally, but same with you, man. That price is gonna hurt the wallet. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's like it would be. I'm surprised. I think that you said something pretty important earlier, that there's really, that might end the Steam Deck. That might be the end of the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
You never know. But then again, it's a more affordable option for some people at that point. At $400, it's less than half the price of the ROG Ally X. I mean, and these are speculated price points we were talking about. It doesn't mean that it's going to be $900. It's just a speculated, but I can see them charging $900 for a console like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the end game is for Steam joining forces with Xbox. I mean, again, it's something that they're just not telling us yet. But it's at the end of the day, for me, it would be great to have a place where I could play my Game Pass games and I could play my Steam games all on one console, all on one portable console that I can bring over to my TV and in my living room, set up and go crazy for a little bit, and then bring it on the road. But again, it's that price point that I'm not smiling about that. It's the only thing.
All right, cool. Well, guys, one last section, and then we can send off. What do you say? What do we get into? Why don't we get into the mailbag.
Really?
Yeah, the mailbag. You ready, Kronos?
Yep. Mailbag.
Yes.
Nice.
All right. Over in Discord, under the mailbag, we have a question from, man, Emmy, you are like MVP here, okay? Throwing out all the
100%.
questions, throwing out all the comments here. All right.
Yeah,
So-
seriously, Yemi, thank you very much for being so involved. It's a huge help.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all our listeners, definitely, if you want to have your voice be heard over on the podcast, be sure to go ahead and comment, leave questions in the mailbag, and vote on the polls, and even comment in the poll chat over in Discord as well, or message us over on our X account. And we'll be more than happy to read off your comments, your questions, and all that, and really get you in on the discussion like Yemi has done. So Yemi asks, favorite movie, TV show, based on a video game. Doesn't have to be necessarily for an already established IP like Doom with Dwayne Johnson or The Last of Us. I remember a movie called Gamer that came out when I was in high school. The concept was pretty cool. Huh. I don't know if I've ever really thought too hard into this for a favorite movie or TV show. There's only one, like, really that pops in my head right away. So the one that just right away in my head, one that came out and I could not stop watching, although Bay could not watch it. She was like, no, you're gonna have to watch it on your own, on your laptop. I would come home from work and watch it on my laptop in the kitchen while she was watching something else completely.
Hey, go sit in the corner.
Yeah, literally. I was literally in the kitchen in the corner watching my show with my headphones on. It was the Fallout series.
There it is.
Yep, loved it so much. I mean, for someone, and I understand why Bay didn't like it. Like that first episode, really like, oh my God, the chills it gives you from the bombs dropping and everything just like gets to you like, oh my God, what if this happened, you know? And if you've never played the games before, it's even, I think that's why it was so good. Like you didn't even have to play the games to be fully engrossed into the show because it was that good at portraying what it was all about. So, but yeah, Fallout series 100%, hands down my favorite of all time. So much so that it, like I said, it got me every night. There was a new episode out. I was on my computer as soon as I got home watching it.
Yeah. You know, I knew you were going to come out with that, and I'm going to echo that 100% unequivocally. That's the best gaming series, show, TV show, movie, whatever you want to call it. Of all of them, that's definitely my favorite one. Is it the most accurate? It's its own original story. So to your point, New, you don't have to play the games to understand it because it's its own story. They established the vault that's in all the Fallout games. They established the character that's in all Fallout games, because the nice thing about the Fallout games is that every new game that comes out is a new character. So this is no different than it being a game of its own, but more of a narrative, more of a TV show. Most accurate one, though, is The Last of Us. If you've watched that series, at least season 1, season 2 didn't do so well. But with season 1, that hit every part of that game, that first game, to the letter, pretty much. They even had points where they were walking in a certain scene and they did a side-by-side video of them walking in the video game as well. Same setup, same look, everything like that. But I'm 100% with you on entertainment value and original storyline. Again, it goes back to what you said. I mean, you just hit it perfectly. You don't have to play the games to enjoy this show. It was just so damn good.
So, one of each in a way, I guess I could say. Now, like, my favorite movie isn't like based off of any certain franchise, but it's about video games in a way. It's called Ready Player One. I don't know if either of y'all seen that one.
Oh yeah, love it.
That movie, as far as, being based off of video games itself in a way, was like, I've watched it probably 30 times and I never get bored of watching it, because it's like, it seems like it would be so much fun if something like that really existed, and it just keeps drawing me in to watch it because it's got a good story to it and stuff. But as far as a TV show, personally, I like the Twisted Metal series. I think like it captured that, like, you know, it didn't copy the games one for one, but it gave it like a feeling almost like you was playing a game. And like it told a good story to it and it kept you immersed in it each episode. Kind of like you with Fallout. I was literally sitting there watching every episode. I'm like, oh man, when's the next one? Like, what's gonna happen now? You know?
Nice, dude. I don't think I've never seen that one. I've never seen that series.
Like I said, it doesn't follow the games to a T. It's not like, you know, to that on point, but it's got a good story to it. It keeps you laughing. Like I like stuff, you know, like I said, that makes me laugh. I've always said that. And it's got that right amount of humor mixed in with the action that it keeps it entertaining. Like there's no really moments where you're just like, come on, like get to the next fight or something.
Yeah, for sure, dude. You know what? I want to throw this in real quick. I actually, some people don't like this movie, but I really liked it. And maybe it's because I wanted my son to see something cool, like gaming stuff, something that he could watch that wasn't like Fallout, right? Detective Pikachu. I actually like Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and my son, he loves that movie too, because you know, obviously Pokemon cutesy.
You know, I forgot all about Detective Pikachu until you mentioned that. That is actually a really good movie. It's story the whole way through it. That's like actually very well adapted to a like real life style looking movie.
Yeah. I know some people don't like, I know it's like, I think it's like up in the air for a lot of people. Like some people don't like it and some people like it. Like, yeah, the acting could have been a little better here and there and whatever. But in general, I think it's a decent movie and definitely one you could sit down with your kids and watch, you know? I just had to throw that one in there. It popped in my head as soon as we were all done. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Cool. All right. I think that about wraps up our time. We're running out of time. I think that about wraps it up. I think we're going to go ahead and save the couple mailbag questions over in the Discord for the next episode. You guys cool with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Well, then, I think that is it for us, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to episode 11, and we really do hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, as always, you want to join the Discord, you want to get in on the conversation with us, be sure to go in the About section wherever you're hearing this podcast and click on the link, and we'll love to see you in there, and we'll love to chat with you as well. Until then, we will be catching you guys every Thursday at 5 a.m. Central Time, 6 a.m. Eastern for Maz and Kronos over here.
The time difference.
Just
I wasn't gonna say anything.
just a, I mean, yeah, just a little. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
That's a wrap.
See you later.